Hello and welcome back to Season 2 of Fertility Talks, the Thérapie Fertility podcast. I'm your host, Ranae von Meding. Each week this season, I sat down with a different guest to chat about all things fertility. As always, our hope is that through this series, through honest conversation and information, we can strip away some of the stigma that sometimes comes hand in hand with infertility and fertility treatment in Ireland. Today, on our final episode of this season, I have the absolute pleasure of sitting down with seasoned podcasting pro, comedian, actor, all-around hilarious human being, and our very own Thérapie Fertility Egg Freezing ambassador, Joanne McNally. There you go for an intro.
Love the intro. Am I an actor? I'm absolutely delighted.
You sounded surprised at actor.
I can't act.
You have been in, shows and theatre and... Right?
Yeah, I have a weird attitude towards acting, as in, I don't know. I don't think I've tried.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm very good at it. Like, I don't know. I'll see.
Well, I know a lot of actors who call themselves actors who are certainly not very good at it. So
I think I could play the role of a woman from the south side of Dublin in her late 30s, as in I could play myself, but I'm never going to disappear into another role. I just remember I filmed it. I was in this show called Women on the Verge. And the director just gave me a role in it. She just seen me do stand up and she just said, here, you can have that role there. And then on the day, I just remember her upset. She was like, you have to look like you're listening, Joanne. So I think whenever I end up, I can't look like I'm listening. It was the same in Republic of Telly. I end up getting cast and things, and then there's a lot of cutaways and a lot of the back of my head. But but I'm delighted. Put in actor, put it in presenter, put in everything. Fake it till you make it.
Absolutely. So welcome to the podcast. I've been very excited to sit down with you and chat.
Thank you.
If people listening to this or watching this don't know who you are, they've probably been living under a rock. But there might be people.
Oh, there's loads, trust me.
Yeah?
Yeah, I've yet to find them. I will. I'll take them out. My little spade.
So maybe for those people, could you maybe tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from?
So I am a stand-up comic from Killiney originally. I live between Ireland and the UK now, and I'm on tour. That's it, really. I write columns, and what else do I do? That's it. There's not a lot to me, really.
You're very busy at the moment.
I'm busy at the moment.
Yeah.
I am busy at the moment. I'm basically a Ryanair bitch at the moment. I'm just on planes going back and forth. Drinking.
You're not even bumping up to Aer Lingus.
No, I'm too tight. I go Aer Lingus I go when someone else is paying for it. But no, when I'm on my own, I'd literally hang on the wing of a Ryanair flight.
You don't care, you're just get me there.
Yeah, get me there.
Even if it's saving 20 quid.
I know, I'm so used to because when I started in stand-up, I had no money.
Yeah.
And I wasn't making any money. So I'm so used to having to make a bit of money go a long way when it comes to travel and accommodation for gigs.
So are you on the road staying at
I was staying
terrible
in,
hotels?
Kennels practically. Honestly, I remember I was in Hammersmith because when you start... The gigs you're doing open spots for free. In the UK, you have to work your way up in the UK.
Yeah.
Unless you go over as Dara O'Brien or Tommy Tiernan, you're doing the open spots regardless of where you are here in the clubs. And they don't pay. And they could be in Salford or they could be in Newcastle or wherever. So you have to get there, and the trains in the UK are very expensive.
Yeah.
Do your little 10-minute open spot for no money. Somehow put yourself up, all this jazz. So I'm so used to trying to get around the UK for a tenner that and I still have that mindset that I try and save cash on travel wherever I can. But what was it? Hostels. I was a big one for hostels.
Yeah.
But the thing about that, I'm lucky in the sense that I'm not precious about myself. I would sleep under tables and have done, and I'm totally grand with it. I have a very, I think, apocalyptic lifestyle, a bunker lifestyle. I could eat out of tins and live in a cave. It wouldn't bother me.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm cheap.
Okay.
I have a cheap lifestyle. I have cheap tastes. Is the vibe.
Well, I'm sure you're saving loads of money on the Ryanair flights.
I know. They're practically for nothing. They're practically for... The gin and the flight's more expensive than the plane.
I know.
Can't believe it.
It's crazy, right?
Crazy.
Yeah. So growing up, did you ever think you wanted to have kids? We're just going to get straight into it.
I love it. No segue. You're like me and stand up straight in. Yeah, so I'm adopted, which I think did have an impact in that regard because as an adopted person, you've no biological connections in your life, so you're very confused about who you are. You don't look like anyone. You don't know what your abilities are. You know, that's why my parents, in fairness to them, had me in loads of like after school activities, because they were trying to figure out what I was good at, if I was good at if I was good at anything, or was I just going to sit there like this lump of disappointment with no skills. So I was in ballet and I was in piano and all those things that I obviously dropped out of all of them. So when I was younger, I was convinced I was going to have a huge family, which was a vanity project, really. I was just going to clone myself. Again and again. Again and again and again and again. Von Trapp style. But then as I got older, some things happened. I was in a relationship. There's an assumption you'll have kids because that's just what people do.
Sure.
There's an assumption you'll get married. There's an assumption you'll try and buy a house. There's an assumption you'll get a job. All those things. And kids were kind of thrown in the mix there. But then as I got older, I was in a relationship with a man who didn't want to have kids. And I thought, as you always do, me and him were going to go the distance. So I felt like, and he was very adamant he didn't. That wasn't a kind of a whimsical, maybe he was very determined he didn't. So I had to make a decision at that stage of whether I was going to have kids or not, if I was going to stay with this man. And so when I really started to think about it, I realized I no great urge really at that stage, which was my mid-30s, early 30s, mid-30s. Not like some of my friends who I was always quite jealous. I've always fallen in between two stools. I was always very envious of people who knew one way or the other. I'm fascinated by that.
Decisive.
How do you know? It's the same way as this girl I knew when we were 18. She knew she wanted to be a radiologist. I was always upset. How do you know?
It's a bizarre.
And she is a radiologist.
Good for her.
I was like, how do you know? Like I've never been one for making decisions. I'm quite indecisive. I'm nervous of commitment. I don't like anything permanent. And I mean, is there anything more permanent than children? No. You can't get them lasered off.
No.
You can't get a child lasered off your back. You can't. But so when I really started to think about it, I realized I don't feel strongly either way. I'm a bit about it. And then I did that documentary called Baby Hater because someone said something to me which really resonated with me. A woman said to me, you should have a kid because you'll never regret having a kid, but you could regret not having a kid. And as we know, obviously women have this huge tick, 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 tick boom inside us. And I was like, that's so interesting. Do you never regret having a kid? Is there no one in the world who's ever regretted having a kid? And that's where the idea for the documentary came from. And of course we did, as you always do, because the world is huge and very nuanced. We found people who sat beside their child and went, I
regret you.
And the child, I know, but like, it was so interesting because
I love the honesty.
The honesty was brilliant. Now, it did take us a while to find her. It wasn't like there was an onslaught of women or men who were like dragging their child in on camera to say that it was a huge mistake. But we did find one who'd kind of spoken publicly about it. It was very refreshing. I do think the reality, we've so much information now and people's choices are different. And I think women, that's why obviously we're working together, is that women's culturally we've changed so much, but biologically we stay the same. And I do think for some people they're questioning parenting now, whereas before it was just a given. You just got pregnant.
You don't even have that conversation. No one would ask you, do you regret having your family? Because
you just do it. You just do it. And if you're having a tough time or having a breakdown, you cry into a sponge and you get on with it.
Get over it. And have another baby.
And that's what you do. And you lose your sense of self and no one cares. And that's just what you do. And it was almost something to be proud of, the fact that you were just a mother, number one, and that was all you were, and there was nothing else to you, blah, blah, blah. Whereas that's definitely changed now. And I think people are considering it more so and asking questions, and people who are parents are talking about the pros and cons more, and people with postpartum are talking more. Postpartum depression, is that what it's called?
Yes.
So there's a lot more information floating around, which also, while it's fantastic,
scary.
It's also scary because I used to talk about it in stand-up, but it just wasn't that funny, so I stopped. But I was like, the information you have now, in some ways, I kind of wish you were just able to make an ignorant decision. I use the term ignorant, but kind of it's a misinformed decision or a decision without all the information you have now. You just get pregnant and get on with it. Yeah. Whereas there's not a lot of getting on with it now, because certainly with my friends, there's so much talk about parenting now. Yeah. And there's still loads of my friends who are like, it's the most amazing thing on the planet. And loads of my friends, well, some of my friends who are saying to me, don't do it, it's not for you.
Because it wasn't for them, or because they think they know you and they kind of feel like they know how you would be?
Probably a bit of both. Yeah. But I think mostly because they know me. Okay. Or my lifestyle. It certainly wouldn't suit my lifestyle at the moment. Yeah. But, and then there's girls who are similar to me, or women I should call it really, who are similar to me, who are trying to put it on the back burner for another while because they're just not ready. Yeah. But their body is ready, but they're not mentally ready.
Yeah, it's the awful like truth about biology that actually it would be good to like carry babies in your teens.
I know.
But psychologically, no one would be ready for that now.
I know, I always think the dream, 15, just let it slip out, you wouldn't even notice. Not a stitch in sight. I know. And we're like patchwork quilts having them in our late 30s. I know. I wonder though, do people, like, I had my eggs because when I did Baby Hater.
So you got your fertility tested then?
I got my fertility tested.
How did that feel, like having it done then? Was it just...
It was fine, like, but I remember, because, I mean, I was probably a bit overly confident about where my because I feel young for my age. I don't think lived the life of most women my age. Like, I'm nearly 40. Yeah. Like, I'm 38. So, I feel I have a youthful lifestyle. Then I kind of assumed my eggs would play along. I just assumed they got the memo.
24.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean? That my eggs would be also young for their age. But they're not. I remember the doctor actually saying I was lower.
Okay, on the lower side of the
for
scale,
my age, yeah. Rather than
and was that
average or higher.
Was that scary, or was it just kind of at the time just information?
It made me sit up and take notice in a way that I hadn't really before, because I'm kind of chilled out in loads of parts. In some parts of my life I'm completely deranged, but in some parts I'm chilled out, and I do kind of believe whatever will happen will just happen, and I'm kind of go with the flow, and what's for you won't pass you by kind of thing. But when he said that, he basically was like, you need to make a decision. And
did you?
And No, I still haven't made a decision. I'm still on this fence. Yeah. Then when he said you need to make a decision, he's like, you kind of need to start getting pregnant. Like, you need to start looking at doing it in the next year or so. Like, basically get your skates on. Yeah. And but I was still in that relationship, and I really
with the guy who definitely didn't want kids.
Yeah, and at the time I really prioritized that relationship. So I was still kind of. I would have chosen him over a child.
A pregnancy or a baby.
But obviously that relationship didn't work out. So then it was kind of back to me going, oh, okay, it's my decision again. Yeah. And still there was no great
urge.
No. Yeah. And I remember speaking to someone about it, and I was like, I don't think I'm very maternal. I have no maternal instincts. And she was like, well, you mightn't have a maternal instinct because you're not a mother yet. So they kind of kick in. Like, why would you be walking around in the world with like these full of maternal instincts when you're not actually with child? And I do love kids. Yeah. I do love kids. I love the really cute ones. I do love.
What about the ugly ones?
I'm very superficial like that. I just like the kind of the chubby ones in frills. That's what I like. But then I think I have a problem with commitment, and a child seems like
the biggest one
you can make. But at the same time, what do you do? Like, my lifestyle at the moment, I'm on the road all the time. I've no responsibilities. It's fantastic. Yeah. I basically live the lifestyle of a 17-year-old boy. It's brilliant. But do I want that for the rest of my life? No. Do I want to be pulling up to a venue on my own in my 50s playing gigs with no company, no one to go home to.
Yeah.
No, that's the big thing. Who do you die with if you don't have kids? Who do you spend Christmas with? Who do you do those things with? Is it okay to just be the aunt getting pissed in the corner? I don't know.
And I think
questions.
The answer to that is, yeah, that's also okay. But is it what you want?
That's the thing.
You know, and it's about having options. So at what point did you start talking about egg freezing? Because I know you've been kind of talking about it for a while.
Thrown it around for ages. Because it seemed like a handy insurance policy. You're like, oh, hold on, I can just put the babies on ice.
Put it on hold.
And
then decide.
It kind of takes the pressure off a little bit. Yep. Not massively, because there's still a lot that goes with that. But
it's not a guarantee, yeah.
It's not a guarantee. And also then you don't rest on your laurels and be like, oh, sure, it's grand. Sure, I have eggs freezing somewhere on grand. I don't need to worry about it. I'll defrost them when I'm 68.
Yeah.
But because I'm kind of a bit of a sheep, so whatever the girls are doing, I just kind of do whatever's like going on at the time. I'll do it.
So do you have friends who've done it?
I have friends who've done it, and one of the girls. How many girls do I know who've done it? I meet girls at shows who've done it.
Yeah, who would say, "Oh, I've done that."
Yeah, I've done it, and I've been told
you're like, they're my best friends.
I'm like,
all my friends.
Oh my god, our little babies are on ice. We have so much in common. And I was told by friends, I was recommended to do it. I think it's one of those things. You get to my age, you don't have a kid, you're not sure you don't want to have a kid. You freeze your eggs. It's just what people do now.
Yeah,
it's like Botox. You just do it.
Yeah. So when you decided to become our egg freezing ambassador, you obviously had testing again.
Yeah.
So there's a few years in the difference.
Yeah, so it's even worse now.
How was that? Were you more afraid getting tested, or were you kind of expecting the answers that you got?
See, I don't know. You don't know you don't know how you'll react. If I'd gone in and been told there's no chance for you, I'd be devastated.
Of course you would.
Even though I still don't know if I'm going to do it or not.
Yeah.
I would hate for the choice to be taken away from me. But I still I knew that getting tested, I had to. It's part of the process. You just have to get it done. There's no way of avoiding that. Yeah. And there's no point putting your head in the sand. It's like your bank account or your tax bill. I would put all that off. I'm a big procrastinator. I don't like dealing with anything.
Yeah.
But you knew, and then you're like, do you know what? It's so much better just to have the information.
Yeah.
It's so much better to know how much you know the tax man. Just know instead of putting your head in the sand. Which I do a lot of the time. But it hadn't really deteriorated that much. It's still the same.
Okay.
She did say, she was like, she checked my left. What are they called? Sack.
I was like, what are you about
my
to
left
say?
Testicle. She
your left
testicle
what? Your left ovary.
Ovary.
There we go.
How I know this little about my own body, it's frightening. Someone asked me recently where you are in your menstrual cycle. I was like, I have absolutely no idea. I just know it comes when it comes. I don't know anything else about it. I've never named it. I don't know anything about it. My left
Although
ovary.
I think it's weird to name your period.
Yeah, it's probably a bit weird. Same as your car. Just get on with it. Just get in it and drive it. Yeah. It's not sentient. She was checking my left ovary first. And I could see there was nothing there, basically. Yeah. And I was like, oh God, that's not good now.
Yeah.
And she was like, your left ovary, it's quiet. Which I don't think I've ever been described as quiet before. But anyway, my left ovary is apparently quiet. And I was like, oh shit. And I was nervous then.
Yeah.
Because it was clear there was nothing going on in my left ovary.
So you're like, what's happening on the right side?
Yeah, it's dormant. Yeah. My left ovary is dormant. Mm-hmm. So I was like, quick, switch to the right. I need a bit of a boost here. So anyway, she went right. And then there was a couple of eggs floating around in there. My God, touch wood. Jesus. So anyway, yeah. But like I say, if she'd gone over to the left and been like, there's nothing going on in there, I would have been distraught.
Yeah. Because then the option is taken away from you.
The option is taken away from me. And you like to just know it's in the background. It's just there. And funnily enough, one of the girls was saying, oh, but you're adopted. Would you not just... Surely you just adopt a kid. I was like, it's not that easy.
And it's very hard to adopt in Ireland.
Sure, it's impossible. That's what I remember my mother saying. She's like, you cannot adopt Irish kids anymore. Now, I don't know if you can't adopt Irish, but we were just speaking anecdotally. Because at the time in the 80s, obviously abortion was very frowned. Like I was adopted in the 80s, abortion was very frowned upon. We were quite religious. So people would kind of hide their kids in the family and pretend they were someone else's kid, or they would hand them up for adoption, or they would keep them or whatever. Whereas now, of course, people just keep them because there isn't the same shame, or they've access to abortion in a way they never had. So adopting an Irish child now is very difficult, I'd imagine. Very difficult. But also for me, it's the biological aspect.
You really wanted that.
Yeah. And I know, like, obviously, of course, if I decided I wanted a kid and it wasn't possible for me to do it, like, biologically, I would look at adopting. But I would love the experience of having something in the world
that was genetically
connected to me.
Yeah, of course.
What a buzz. And if it came out looking like the dad, I'd be absolutely raging. I'd be bawling.
I'm laughing at this because I'm like, yeah, no, I get that. But my kids aren't genetically linked to me.
Your kids aren't?
No, because we use my wife's egg. So I'm like, yeah, but I actually don't have a kid that's genetically linked. But I mean, I carried that. And I do have, I'm linked to my,
Yeah. How does that affect, like, that's so funny. You forgot basically they weren't biological.
I forgot, because it's not a thing for me.
Yeah, and my mother, in fairness to her, my mum says she forgets that we're adopted.
Yeah.
She's like, because she doesn't,
she wouldn't differentiate between.
No, she's like, the fact that you didn't come out of me blows my mind.
Yeah.
But for me, it's a different. I think it's a different thing when you're kind of the one in the middle.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah.
Okay, so after going through this second round of fertility testing, has that pushed you either way? Are you going to make a decision about whether or not to do it?
I reckon I'll end up doing it.
Yeah.
I do. I reckon I'll end up doing it. I reckon. Oh my God, do you know what I was about to say?
What?
When I'm 35. I am deranged. I am 38 years of age. That's really terrifying that I thought I was 30.
But it's also good because you feel...
What am I going to do when I'm 35? Wow, in a DeLorean with a time machine, Joanne. You nut job. So I would like to think, I think maybe 45. The other thing then is...
Wait, hang on. You would like 45 for what?
So I'm very career focused at the moment, right? And I'm working all the time.
Yes.
It's not realistic at the moment. I want to try, at the moment I'm getting an American agent, blah, blah, blah. I want to see if I can have a crack over there.
Going to Australia next year. Yeah.
Like all these things are already in place because this business, they book so far in advance. Sure. So it's not going to be in the next 2 years.
You're going to have like a Las Vegas residency.
I was actually...
Oh my God, if you do, I want tickets. Promise me now.
100%.
Okay, there we go. Yeah. I've put it out into 100%. The universe.
I'd be opening for Adele.
Oh my God.
Me and Adele are starting to look like each other. Both of us, as we both get more tweakments done, we're morphing into the same person. But so there's a lot, I have a lot of plans for myself.
Sure.
That don't involve a child. But that's for the moment. I just don't know if the job, while I find my job incredibly fulfilling, and it got me out of a very dark place. Because I said that to you already, that I was in treatment for an eating disorder when I started, and it was instrumental in me getting over that. And I don't know if this job would be enough for me for the rest of my life. I think there is more to life and more to me.
But this is just the period of your life that you're in right now.
I have to commit to the job 100% now to put myself in a position to be financially independent, to be secure, to be happy, to be content, and then I would get a blowtorch out and defrost the babies.
So if you were to think about doing this, it would be a matter of freezing something now and then potentially looking at becoming pregnant down. And you may not, you could miraculously become pregnant naturally at the age of 43, 44.
100%.
That does happen.
Of course it does. And me and Vogue, I must send her the information because Vogue doesn't believe me when I say this. She thinks I'm talking out of my ass, but that when you come to the end of your fertility, you start shooting out more eggs.
And sometimes you can actually become more fertile when you're going through what is it called?
Premenstrual perimenopause.
Menopause. Perimenopause, yeah. You can become super, your hormones are all over the place.
I'm sure she won't mind because I know that she's spoken public about it, but my friend Bridget, she got naturally pregnant with triplets at 40.
Jesus.
I know.
With triplets.
Triplets. She's the best story.
That must be very, very rare. That it wasn't through fertility treatment.
No fertility treatment.
Jesus.
No fertility. Yeah. She said the two boys were in the same sack. So they found the two. They're like, there's one, there's two, and then the girl was in a third
just
sack,
floating around,
and they're like, there's another one, and Bridget screamed, "Stop looking, stop! Turn off the machine."
If I don't know they're in there, I can pretend it's not happening.
But like that, like, so I've heard similar stories to that. I know several women who got pregnant naturally at 40.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, like, it's probably not the norm, but it does happen. But yeah, I mean, even obviously working with you guys, I'm thinking about it more and more, and I think I get it. I think I'd really enjoy being a mum.
I think you'd be a great mum.
I think I'd be a good mum.
I think you would.
Or I would be a terrible mum, but you can't know until you just try. But that's the thing, you should be able to try it.
Yeah, and like, what even is a terrible mum or a terrible parent? As long as you're keeping a kid safe and fed and loved, like, what else is there? The
Billy Barrys. I would have that kid in the Billy Barrys on the way home from the hospital. We wouldn't even cut the umbilical cord. I'd have it in tap shoes. I'd be like, go in, you go in there. This is Twink. She's going to be your other mother. Get stuck in.
I feel like there's a lot of kids who would want to be adopted by you.
Oh, thank you.
And leave their families.
I know, I'm going to put them all in stage school. Yeah. I always wanted to go to stage school.
So did I, and I never. I went in my teens. Like, I had to like work for, do jobs to like pay my way to get singing lessons, but like my only like thing that I wanted to do as a young kid, I can remember, and now like my own kids like are in it, and I'm like, do you have any idea how lucky you are? And he was like, I don't want to go to class. No. And I'm like, do you have any idea?
Get in.
Like,
dance
how
for
much?
mummy.
Yeah.
I'd love it. And I see them. What stage school are they?
You would be such a dance mom.
Well, I'd love to be a dance mum.
And I am, and I didn't think I would be, but actually Ava was doing something and I was filming her, and then I listened back to it later and I'm like, yeah, Ava, go on Ava, yeah, no, do it again, get up, do it again, come on, no, go in front, no, they're skipping you.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
you're like
Jesus,
directing them and everything.
terrible. But you don't know until you do it.
I know, but if you're gonna if you're gonna put your kid in stage school, you want them to be decent, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Do you know, you don't want to be the back of the donkey's ass in the panto. You want them to be the star.
She will be.
She'll be the star.
I can just picture you with like a tribe of children rocking up in like the massive like, van with all the kids, and like, go on.
But I'll be totally honest, I'd want a lot of help. Do you know what I mean? Like how people do it without, I don't know how, like, the more I see friends of mine with kids, and I've one of my friends, Claude O'Hagan, she did it on her own. She's spoken publicly about it as well, and she's this baby Frank now, and she does it everything on her.
She's amazing. Yeah, I follow her on Instagram. She's
oh my god,
she's amazing.
Yeah, she's amazing.
Yeah.
I watch it. It's incredible.
I don't know. I think when you're, there's nothing wrong with doing it alone, and actually, I think it'd probably be better to do it alone and just know you've got it, rather than do it with someone who doesn't necessarily want to be involved in that parenting team.
And also what I do find interesting, which I'd never thought about until I got older, is that if you have a kid with someone else and then the relationship breaks down,
you're forever linked to that person.
Always linked to that person, and they get a say in everything you do with that child, and like, all the schools, and you say you wanted to just decide you want to emigrate to Thailand, look, whatever decision you want to make, these are not decisions you can make. You're kind of locked into this other person. Do you know one thing I do know about myself? When I'm on my own, not in a relationship, I've no urge to have a kid. When I'm in love with someone, so it changes.
Yeah,
it
and
does change. Something kicks in.
Connect that all together.
Yeah, something does kick in for me. Yeah,
because I know that you've learned through, your chats about this and stuff, that actually freezing embryos is probably would give you a higher success rate.
I know, but
then if you use donor sperm to create embryos, and then you met someone and fell in love with them and you wanted to use their sperm, but you already have embryos, have you thought any more about that?
I have. Do you know what the embryo thing, I don't know, I'm kind of jumping around, but I think because of the career I'm in, I've become incredibly emotionally independent, whereas I was quite needy before, and a bit mentally, I would say, weak, like looking for validation in other people in other areas and everything, and I don't have that anymore. So I would have always assumed if I was going to have a baby, it would be with a man, it would be in a relationship, etc. because I always got so much validation from relationships.
Yeah.
Whereas that's kind of changed for me now. So now I really think if I did it, it would be, I probably would end up doing it on my own. So the reason I went there with that is because I'm thinking now maybe I should actually. It should be an embryo.
Yeah.
More so than just an egg.
Yeah.
Because I have this feeling that I'm just going to bounce around with flings. I don't see myself being in a long-term relationship again. Really.
I guess it's
Is this public or is this like my...
is this a therapy session or is this going to be
Renee,
like...
I'm so glad you asked. You're like, I didn't ask. Oh, okay. She won't stop.
But I think like there's no way to know, and it's you know, it's just a matter of you know, and there's no way to know how you would feel about that, because like if you had embryos, you might feel very connected to them, like
what's the crack with an embryo now? So is that like some Swedish sperm mixed in with my eggs?
So in Ireland we don't use sperm from within Ireland unless you're using...
Why is that?
So it's just like a historical thing. The gene pool is so small within Ireland that it just wouldn't make sense to have an Irish sperm bank with Irish people donating. Like the likelihood of someone using donor sperm for someone that's related to them would be very high in Ireland because it's such a small country.
I'd love that, because then the child have more chance of the baby looking like me, which is my girl. So I'd be like, yeah.
I think it's illegal.
I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm a rule breaker. Is it in Finland? Where is it? Or is it Iceland? The country's so small that they have an app that when you're about to hook up with someone, you can just do a quick DNA test
to make sure.
Yeah.
I mean, we should have that.
Wouldn't that be amazing?
Yeah, no, we should definitely have that. No, so if you were going to use donor sperm, you would use it from the bank we work with is the European Sperm Bank. So yeah, it's like amazing European sperm.
Euro baby.
Yeah, but like, you know, really good quality donors,
quality sperm, yeah.
you know.
When you say good quality, what do you mean? Hot? Like, what are we talking here? No one under an 8. No one under an 8 can deliver it. Or no one under an 8. What do you call it?
Which?
No, sorry, no one under an 8 can donate. That's a great slogan.
No one under Renee can donate?
No, as in 8 out of 10, no one under an 8 can
no
donate.
No one under Renee. I was like... Am I the bar? I'm a 10. Like,
when you say quality of sperm.
No, when I say quality of sperm, I mean like when you're looking at a sperm count, you're looking for like that morphology, motility, and count. So you're looking that there's a lot of sperm in a semen sample. So like millions and millions.
Yeah.
So like the norm, I think at the moment is like 18 million per like tiny, like it's a lot. And all you need is one. So you're looking at how many there are. You're looking at what they look like, which is the morphology. So if they're like, you know, the typical like little thing with the little tail, or does it have 2 heads, or is it like completely wonky? So you're looking at what it looks like, and then you're looking at the motility, which is how well they can swim.
Yeah.
So like if an embryologist is looking at a sample and the sperm are all just like, you know, not moving, that's not a good sample. You want them to be like going crazy and like trying to get the egg.
Not me, you're like, your sperm shit crack. We're not
so that's what I'm talking about when I mean like a healthy, good sample.
Okay.
That's really what is important to make a good embryo. So is 2
heads on a sperm a bad thing?
It is a bad thing. I don't mean like that, you know, the person who donated the sperm is necessarily hot on this scale, but
that's
like
disappointing. I thought that was
you can get pictures, and you know, so you know, it's
I don't know why
each to their own, like,
yeah,
you know,
course.
But I mean, if you had the option to pick a donor that was like your ideal like male physique, like of course you're going to do that, right?
Of course, I know.
Yeah. But yeah, if you did that and created embryos, then you might feel a certain way more so about embryos than you would about eggs.
Yeah.
Because eggs, as you know now, we lose them every month. You bleed them out.
Yeah.
But embryos are like a potential to become a person. Yeah. You know? So I don't know, you might feel differently. You might feel more connected.
So can I look at a brochure?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Catalog, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Pick a man.
You can go on to I can send you the link. You can go on, you can look at the you register.
Oh my God, why am I doing this?
Wait, there you go.
Let's do this.
Yeah.
Oh my God, have you just sold me an embryo? You're amazing at your job.
I've upsold you.
Amazing. Do you know what's so interesting though? I'm seeing a guy at the moment, and I remember before, if you were sleeping with someone, you'd be really paranoid about like morning after pill, blah 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 blah. And I've lost that.
Does he know that you've lost that? Because I think he might know.
Does he know what?
That you're not being as careful.
Yeah, no, he does. I don't think he's that arse either. I don't think he's that.
Are you kind of like,
I just find it interesting that I was like, oh, now don't get me wrong, I'm not like trying to baby, but I'm not as hysterical as I would have been at one stage.
Yeah.
Where you're like gripping the table, white knuckling it down to the pharmacy.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Overdosing on whatever they give you. Whereas now I'm like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
I'll go when I go.
So in terms of the clinic, what did you think of Dr. John?
Oh,
I know you were a big fan.
I love Dr. John. I love those doctors who go by their first name because they're too cool.
Well, do you know what he actually hates? I call
Dr. John. It's real casual or something. You're like, hey, I'm not a regular doctor. I'm a cool doctor. I'm Dr. John.
Yeah.
I know. So because obviously people know I'm working with you guys, and the amount of DMs I got talking about him, just saying how amazing he was, and
he genuinely cares.
Yeah.
He's really good at what he does, but he's a really nice
He'd
person.
have to care. You couldn't be. I just don't think you could be in that line of work and not be emotionally invested.
I don't know. I think maybe sometimes after years of kind of dealing with it, maybe you become a bit hardened by it, or disillusioned with it, or whatever. Like that does happen.
Yeah.
But he really does care, and he's quite funny.
What an amazing job.
Right.
I know.
Like helping people fulfill like their dreams. Yeah. No, it's incredible. I even feel just very lucky being able to.
You've access to him all the time.
Yeah.
How many kids? You have 2 kids.
Yeah.
2 kids. Are they? They are twins.
No, 5 and 3.
Oh. Ooh.
Yeah, and we just got a puppy, which is like the 3rd child.
But I think if you've got we grew up with dogs, and it was huge. Like, it's such an amazing way to grow up with animals.
Yeah.
Because you learn to love, not that children need to learn to love, but like there's something
they
to
do.
look after.
They need to learn empathy and
to look after the dog and all. But no, I was so impressed with Dr. John. I knew I would be anyway, but he's just so kind and sound and normal.
Yeah. Did you watch back the video? You made him blush so many times. I
was like, I think that I couldn't tell if he was blushing or he had really high blood pressure. I was like, he needs to be seen.
He was blushing.
You just send yourself. I know. I don't know what. I think I was treating him like a man in the crowd of a stand-up show.
Like he was coming on to you or something. So he was like trying to give you like really good medical advice.
I was doing all this weird innuendo with him and all. He was like, what is going on?
I'm married with 3 kids.
No, no. Yeah, I really like him. So is he going to be the one? So, okay, so I'll choose
You're making your plan now.
Yeah, this is the plan. So
I hope that I can be involved in this child's life.
Oh, please do. Yeah. Like, you will insert it yourself, Ranae. I want the full service, please.
Renee's getting privileges now to do embryo transfers.
Renae just putting on her little gloves on her Instagram live. Cut to me with my legs in stirrups. No, so then my egg gets taken out, mixed with the embryo, mixed with the sperm. Then it's an embryo. Then it gets put in a freezer somewhere.
Then it gets frozen exactly the same way that eggs would be frozen. So they're all frozen in the same, like they're like little straws. They get frozen in. They get put in these tanks.
What's the expiry date on an embryo?
There isn't. No, there isn't. It's the same with eggs. And I think it's more like a moral kind of ethical question of how long, so obviously if a person is no longer, touch wood, person is no longer alive or, says that they don't want to keep them anymore, they would just be discarded.
It's so weird, isn't it?
But other than that, like they can kind of exist indefinitely.
Wow. Like Walt Disney.
Yeah.
In a what's he in a cryogenic?
Yeah.
Didn't you have a say?
Yeah.
Cryogenic.
Yeah, cryogenic preservation, I guess.
Yeah. Is that what the embryos are in?
Well, I'm not an embryologist, but I believe.
What? Why am I here?
Why are you giving me this advice? Why did I sign up to this?
Where the hell am
Yeah, they're like fast frozen. So it's called vitrified. They're fast frozen in liquid nitrogen. So it's literally like they're put into this like long straw, and they dip the straw into this liquid nitrogen. It freezes it immediately. And then they put it into a tank, which is just kind of stored in liquid nitrogen.
Wow.
And yeah, it's just stored indefinitely until you need to use it.
Oh my God, this would be so crazy. Like if we all move to space, like the plan is you'd be taking your little tube up to space to frost it on Mars. That's the future. There's space. That's what I was saying to Dr. John. I was like, this is
space babies.
Space babies.
So yeah, if you decide you want to go ahead with anything, you can either do eggs or embryos, and really it's the same process. You'd have to go through the egg collection, the medication, the kind of procedure to retrieve the eggs. I'm going to do that anyway. Yeah. So this is the thing. If you're doing that anyways to freeze eggs, and if you don't feel very strongly about waiting to see if you meet the one.
Yeah. So I'll do that.
Yeah. So yeah. Sign me up.
Sign me up. Bring me the catalogs. Bring me the man book.
I am gonna send you, and you can have a look.
Yeah. I totally know. That's actually a much wiser thing to do.
Well, it makes sense because
it makes sense.
If you then at some point need to use them to become pregnant, and you don't become pregnant naturally, then there's a higher chance that an embryo transfer would work. It's still not guaranteed. Absolutely none of this is guaranteed, but there's a much higher chance that an embryo transfer would result in a live birth than frozen eggs would result in. Yeah. So, both are really good options. And I think what we would always say is it's better than doing nothing.
What's the crack with the dad? Well, the man.
The biological father or the donor.
Yeah. What are his rights then?
There would be no rights. So in Ireland, like if you become a sperm donor, you will never be recognized as a parent, but it's called an identifiable donor. So the child would have access to the donor's information when they become an adult. So they could go and search this person out if they wanted to. You wouldn't be able to. So it's not like you'd be able to, call them up and be like, hey, you want to join my family?
Yeah.
That sort of thing. But no, they would have no parental rights. You would be, so if you were doing this by yourself, you would be the only legal parent. Mm-hmm. If you were using donor sperm in a couple, you would both be legal parents.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's all very well regulated and
yeah, because I think it's important for a child to know where it came from.
Yeah, and that's why this has been introduced, because years ago only anonymous donation was allowed. And we've moved very much away from that.
I think you're at risk of having, and I think that's kind of what I was going through. You have an identity crisis. I think I had an identity crisis in my 20s. I didn't know who I was or what was going on. Yeah. And I think that was because I had no context for myself. So that's why I think that it matters to know where you came from.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even just to see another human, you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's where I came from.
Yeah, or even if, there's, donor conceived people who then find out they have genetic half siblings or whatnot, and just being able to kind of find those links.
Yeah.
It's a very different situation, adoption and donor conception, but there are similarities with people who are conceived. Yeah. And, the outcome of these different situations, I suppose.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It's more even for physicality. You're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I used to be so jealous of people who'd be told they looked like someone. Do you know when you meet someone, they're like, oh my God, you're the spits of your mother, you're the spits of your father.
Do you look like your
biological parents?
No, your parents.
No.
Because sometimes people, like I have a few friends who are adopted and they look so like them because they just take on their mannerisms.
Yeah.
And they kind of morph into each other. Like my kids, again, not like genetically related to me, but Ava is me.
It's so weird.
She is me.
Yeah.
It's crazy. She also very much like my wife. But she's just mini me because it's she sounds like me. She talks like me.
Do you dress her like you?
Yeah, to be fair, yeah.
And that is a big thing.
She dresses herself now.
But you.
Like me. Yeah. She wants to look like me, yeah.
Yeah. I have another friend who is adopted, and to say she's a spitz of her mother, we just didn't believe her when she said she was adopted because it seemed bizarre.
And this is the thing, if you do have your own biological children, there's no guarantee they'll look like you.
Well, then they're going back into the freezer. Rest assured. Unless they come out literally wearing this denim shirt with this eyeliner flick. I would, like, I'm not going to lie, I'd be very disappointed. I say that, I don't know. I wouldn't care. But from this side of it, it is ultimately. And I mean, it was even when I went in to find my biological parents, and the the nun was like, why are you doing this? And I said, I want to find someone that I look like, which I said, I think might sound very vain. And she said, not at all. 99.9% of people who come in looking for their biological parents say that that's their reason, because they want to look like someone. It's just a human need or human urge.
That connection.
Yeah, that connection. Because that's what gives you context for yourself. Also, I feel like the child would look like me. I just feel like it would.
Do you feel like you have strong genes?
I feel like I've got a strong head,
Strong.
I've got a strong head. And when I found my biological parents...
do you look like them?
I look like I'm the spits of my biological father.
Okay.
And all his kids, we all look the same. Now, I'm the only girl. He's got a million boys.
But if you were a boy, you would look like them.
Yeah. And I do look like them.
Yeah.
Which is terrifying. I'm the spits of them. So I feel like I've inherited that head.
Yeah.
And I would pass it down.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully I wouldn't pass down my calves, but I would pass down my head.
Okay, last question.
Yeah.
Because obviously the reason you've done this partnership is kind of to raise awareness and just to, for people to have more conversations and.
Well, yeah. Well, it's all we talk. It's all me and the girl. It's all we talk about at the moment.
Yeah.
We're just at that stage.
Yeah.
Like it or lump it, we are at that stage. It's all the talk is babies, fertility. Are you freezing your eggs? Everyone's just freezing their eggs, freezing their faces. The frozen girls. Stopping time. Yes, trying to.
So what would you, like, knowing what you know now, what would you say to people?
The big thing for me was checking your fertility.
And just having that.
And knowing what's going on.
Yeah.
And not putting your head in the sand. That would be the big thing for me. And also, even that I just started this podcast saying I was going to freeze my eggs, and I'm ending this podcast saying I'm going to freeze an embryo.
And that's just through having a conversation with someone.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, just talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Flesh it out and figure out what you want and do something.
And also, I know, because sometimes people will say, oh, it's not a guarantee. But I know that.
Yeah.
And what is a guarantee is if you don't do anything, you're definitely not going to have a baby. So at least this is something. Yeah,
and I think even choosing, like actively choosing not to do it is also doing something. Do you know what I mean?
I would love, like I am so envious of those people.
Yeah.
It frustrates me that at my age, I still can't decide. That annoys me about myself.
Well, maybe your decision will be giving yourself some options, because giving yourself options doesn't mean that you ever have to do anything with those options. It just means that they're there.
Yeah.
And actually having those options there might in turn like allow you to make the decision of actually, no, I don't want kids.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
You know, and there's no right or wrong answer.
I wish you could rent them like a go-car for a while. Just see.
Babies or eggs?
Babies.
You can have mine. And I won't charge you.
Well, yeah, if she's a performing child, I'll take her.
You can have both of them and
the
dog.
No, one, Ranae. I said one. I want one, please.
Well, you can't pick which one then. I'll give you the 3-year-old. She's mental.
Is she? But isn't it so funny when people talk about their kids with personalities? Because I don't have kids and I don't know a lot about kids, because obviously I don't spend time with kids really. Someone could be saying like, I don't know what age. Someone's saying like, oh, my child said blah 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 the other day. I'm like, how do they speak? They're only 3. They're like, Joanne, children speak.
I know, it's crazy how much they absorb from you. Like a 2-year-old could, put you in your place.
Apparently they have little personalities and all.
They do.
The nature nurture thing has always fascinated me as well. Again, because I'm adopted.
Yeah, because if you had been placed with a different family and you had different parents, would you be an entirely different person?
That's the thing. I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think it's 50-50.
I do think it's both.
Yeah, so do I. I think you are born with your own little personality.
Yeah. And then that personality is kind of shaped by your family, by where you live, what schools you go to,
your friends, all that
what you have access to growing up. Yeah,
I do. I think it's 50-50. I remember reading somewhere, I was like, what an amazing analogy. It's like mixing paint. Like if you put red and white paint in a bucket and it's pink, you can't take it out anymore. You can't decide. You don't know which bits are what.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of an interesting way of explaining it. But yeah.
Well, thanks for chatting, and watch this space, because now apparently you're going to make some. Yeah.
I'm going to buy a man, apparently. Do I have to pay? Do you have to pay to buy a man?
I can't answer that question. You do have to pay to buy a donor sperm, though.
Oh, the sperm. Yeah. Okay.
I don't think the man comes with the sperm.
Does he not have to speak? I can't just DM him late at night or anything. Hey, hon, you up? Okay, fascinating. Thank you.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of Fertility Talks, the Therapy Fertility podcast. If you have, please rate, review, and subscribe. For more information on the services we offer, you can visit www.therapyfertility.com.